Good morning, 2025. Happy New Year. Feels like we turned back the clock, at least a decade or so. Early stages of that slippery slope that y'all said wasn't a slippery slope, and then we almost just went over the edge of a cliff at the bottom of that slippery slope. I am glad that we have turned back the clock, so to speak, and we are now going to be able to focus the war for the soul of humanity where it should be, rather than where it's been like the last 4 years, which is a war for reality, for sanity. Woke took us all to a place where it felt like such a waste of time and energy and resources fighting against the leftist progressive woke agenda, which is just so insane and out of touch with reality that it felt like a waste of time and energy to be defending reality, objective reality. And so that is why many people, myself included, who despise government, are very skeptical of people in authority and power, supported Trump, Elon, Vivek, JD Vance, all of these people who very clearly, rationally, and sometimes entertainingly, articulated the message of free speech, freedom, capitalism, reason. But it was always with a hefty dose of skepticism, right? I mean, come on. Trump considers himself the father of the vaccine, which we all know wasn't, which we all know was a genocidal bioweapon. So, obviously with a hefty dose of skepticism, and of course, you look at Vivek and his background, and that came out during the last year, so, yeah, a little sketchy, but he sure says all the right things now. This was, pre-election. Elon, I mean, imagine if we didn't have Twitter, we may have gotten stuck with the insanity of Kamala and just the world being completely out of touch with the reality for the next 4 years. However, that wasn't going to happen because all of this is planned and controlled at a much higher level than any of these faces that we are seeing in our media today. So of course we were going to support free speech, as we've clearly seen the last few days, is not free speech. So we're going to have to move to Nostr and Gab and other platforms. Decentralize as much as possible. But the point of this video, I'll get to the point. It feels like we've turned back the clock and now we can focus our energies in fighting against the real enemy, which is the transhumanist agenda to enslave humanity. That to me feels like a much more noble fight than the last 4 years defending objective reality against this insane woke agenda. So I guess I could have said everything I needed to say in 10 seconds, because that's really it. That's what I'm excited about. It's become very clear, even before Trump has taken office, that it was all a setup, it was all a scam, it was all pre-planned. It was all put in motion because the powers that be, who are behind the curtain, want him in power. They made it seem like Elon was the savior of free speech, and they made it seem like Trump and Vance and Vivek and Tucker and all of these people, Joe Rogan, they're all supporting our desire for freedom, capitalism. So how can you not support that? Of course we're going to support that against the alternative, which is another 4 years of just absolute craziness, which would have led to the balkanization of the United States. Now everyone's been galvanized. The secession movements have been tabled for now. Now, though, we've seen, before Trump even takes office, before even the first day of 2025, that it was all a setup, that it was all a scam. And this is great. I'm excited about that because it means now we can turn our energies and people are going to listen back to where it needs to be, which is fighting for the soul of humanity, fighting against the transhumanist agenda to enslave all of us or kill all of us, if you believe Deagle. Either way, it's a much more noble fight because now we have a real big enemy. And it's kind of funny that it turns out Patrick Bet-David may be a fraud in how he got to where he is today. I have liked the guy. I watched his live stream actually on election night, which was the biggest in the world. I like his story of the way he's told the story, but it turns out he built his personal brand off the back of an insurance MLM, which I hate MLMs for many reasons. Maybe I'll make a video about that. When I was younger, I had a lot of friends that got hurt by it. Like 97% of people in all MLMs lose money. It's insane. And so the fact that Patrick Bet-David built his entire personal brand on the back of an MLM, all of those interviews and stuff, like the first one that I ever saw that he had done was with Kobe. I love Kobe, rest in peace. And now it like makes me mad to think that that was at an MLM conference that PBD like probably paid him to come and do the interview. It was a good interview. But then PBD built his own personal brand off the backs of all those people who were slaving away, chasing the dream in the MLM. Anyway. So it's kind of funny that he has just gotten raked over the coals in the last few days as well. And we're really seeing the masks come off on all of these people who we looked at with admiration for the way that they're able to articulate truths that we believe, but also that we looked at with a hefty dose of skepticism, as we should. No one in this world gets to those levels without making some deals or some type of unethical behavior. So what is the point of us even making videos, making content, putting anything out there if I believe that? Why would I bother wasting my time? Well, someone might watch it, someone might be touched by something. That's why I started the Bad at My Religion podcast. Maybe it'll never get big, but it's something that I'm very passionate about, and I need an outlet to have those discussions, and I think it's fascinating, and I learn things, and it changes me, it inspires me to be a better person, to be better at my spirituality, etc. But I'm going to post more. I'm just going to force myself, even though I really dislike doing it, and for a long time, especially the last few years, so it's kind of interesting. This video is going to be longer than I intended, but it's interesting because I started posting in 2021 about the lockdowns, and there was so much stuff. You can watch my rant on the Bad at My Religion thing about, I'll make a shorter clip about how angry I was in 2020 during the lockdowns that my mom and stepdad couldn't go to church, and they wanted to. And I was so mad about the cowardice of the local churches in the United States and the pastors. And I wanted to go knock on doors, and I wanted to go like confront these pastors for just being absolute pussies and not serving God. They were serving these leftist governors and their mandates, which weren't law. It was cowardly. It was pathetic. And I didn't, because family was like, no, Colin, it's not love, blah, blah, blah. And I start posting on social media about the vaccines and that stuff, and then it's like, no, don't be so angry, don't be ranting, like don't be putting that energy out into the world. And I really regret that, because a lot of people who started even like a year after, like in 2022, ended up building big followings. Not massive, but big enough that they could monetize it and, open other doors to do things because they were just consistent with saying the same stuff. So I regret that I didn't do it. And so now I'm going to, because I'm like re-energized that there is value in going into this fight. This is no longer a fight that, honestly, like I can blame myself too. It wasn't just that people were telling me to shut up, and that was like annoying and frustrating, and so I did. It was also that it just felt like a battle that wasn't worth fighting. It's like, do we really have to fight about how many genders there are? Do we really have to fight about all of these crazy things where the government is saying up is down and left is right? Anyone with any connection to reality can see that they're just gaslighting us, making stuff up. But this battle, now, this one feels noble. This is more of a William Wallace thing, because the skepticism that we had for Trump and Elon, especially, even before they've taken office, proven to have been correct. We were right to be skeptical about them. They are owned. And I don't feel like getting my account banned just yet, so I'm not going to say who they're owned by. But they're controlled. And so the skepticism was well-founded. But also, it's exciting because they haven't even taken office yet, and we already know that. We have almost a full month to go. We got 2/3 of the month before Trump even takes office. And like, the battle lines have already been drawn. We know that the transhumanist agenda to enslave all of us is what's behind Trump and Elon. And I'm not MAGA by any means, but there is a lot of overlap in terms of culture, in terms of values, in terms of political beliefs. Maybe less so on that aspect. But they've already just essentially pissed all over MAGA. And that was their base. But it doesn't matter, because the powers that be behind the curtain are the ones who put them into place anyway. It wasn't the voters. Like, if voting actually did anything, they wouldn't let you do it. So now it feels like we're not fighting with blue-haired Starbucks baristas with 14 facial piercings. Now it feels like, okay, now the focus is back to actually fighting against globalist depopulation and enslavement of the rest who survive agenda. Agenda 2030, UN Sustainable Development Goals, which, yes, I know, don't even come after me about that. I've posted about that and supported that with different sustainable projects that I've been part of the last 10 years. To a certain degree only. I'll defend myself. It wasn't blind adherence to SDGs. It was simply, sustainability is a good thing. Stewardship is a good thing. We should take care of the earth because we love it. I don't think you can mandate morality, nor should any government or entity attempt to do so. But we should take care of the planet. I mean, it's beautiful. Pick up your trash. Pack it in, pack it out. Organic, regenerative farming is better than chemical fertilizer. Like, these are just basic things. So if those support sustainable development goals, so be it. But I'm excited because now we get to fight against the real enemy and do so in a way that we can hopefully have somewhat rational conversations and debates and discussions about the topic that we couldn't have a decade ago because it was conspiracy theory. Put your tinfoil hat on, Josh. You think there's some shadowy people groups behind the curtain that are making all the decisions. You think that's a slippery slope, that if we allow gay marriage, that eventually, like, they're going to be promoting NAMBLA. Yeah, well, that's what happened. And even worse, promoted, like, genital mutilation of children the last few years. I mean, it got even worse than what the conspiracy theorists were saying a decade, 15, 20 years ago. And unfortunately, one of the biggest voices that we had a long time ago was Alex Jones, and he's clearly sold out. Apparently, when you fine someone $1 billion for their speech and threaten to take away everything that they have spent decades building, they acquiesce. And now Alex Jones is essentially on X every day, blowing Musk, filleting Musk. That's what he's doing. So now, kind of the only voice that's there's a couple. David Icke and Whitney Webb are excellent skeptics. Nick Fuentes is another one. Each of them have their specific focus. You can take the good and leave the bad, I guess. I think Whitney is probably the most rational, and there's probably others too that are going to now come to the surface because, well, we need skeptical voices who are on the side of humanity to come to the forefront and help in this fight against the demon spawn who are attempting to enslave us all. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2025. I'm not sure if anyone will ever watch any of my videos. I really dislike having to spend tons of time editing them. Although it does help to edit them cutting all the silences. And thankfully now there's AI to help with that. It saves hours. It's really nice. Shout out to Firecut. And no, they're obviously not. But great app, plugin, extension. It's a great Premiere extension. So I don't know how I can just ramble for 20. I don't know who watches rambling for 20 minutes. I don't. I think it's important to plan stuff out. So I'm gonna make a commitment to that. I'll just say that if you've stuck with me all this way, wow. I hope you're watching on 1.5 speed. Thank you. Thank you for watching. But I'm gonna make a commitment that I'm gonna work on taking this 20-minute video and condensing it to like 7. So making more of an outline of what I want to say, because I kind of knew what I wanted to say, but I just wanted to get up here. Nice morning, and I've been up since like 4:30 because I live in a shithole country where they play music that you can hear for many kilometers until, well, they were just still playing it like half an hour ago. So until the sun comes up, they really brought in the new year. Unfortunately, all the rest of us had to lose some sleep over it. But I just feel like sitting here and having a New Year's Day rant. But I could definitely make these points in a much more concise manner and do it in like 7 or 8 minutes with an outline and preparation. So I'm going to commit to that. I'm going to commit to just being shameless this year also. I have really nothing to lose at this point. Nobody's going to work with me or buy my stuff or hire me or anything. That's one of the things that I've actually been weak on over the last couple decades, is attempting. I've deleted my Twitter like 5 times over the years. I mean, I've been on it since 2007, 2008, maybe 2008, because I didn't want to purposelessly offend people. And yeah, we should be able to be free to say whatever we want, but you know, just because I'm not easily offended, I can't expect everyone else to also be that way. And so sometimes I would rather just keep the peace and deal with people. That was before. I'm telling you. Now, if you don't want to work with me or buy my stuff because of my ideology, fuck you. That's what I'll say. I don't care. There's like 8 billion people on this planet. And like the most famous, most famous wealthy people that we know about, a few million followers. So when you think about the percentage of the human population that those really huge famous people have supporting them, following them, it's very, 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 very tiny. So I'm going to approach it as maybe just more of a documenting this fight for humanity and my perspective on it all for my grandkids, my great-grandkids, and my great-great-grandkids. They say if you can live the next 20 years, that we'll be able to live the next 200 years. I think that's interesting. I am definitely not a transhumanist. I don't believe that we die. I think that the soul is eternal, that we are already connected to divine consciousness. We are eternal. However, it would be kind of fun, maybe, to have a longer human lifespan. Maybe. Still kind of working through all of that. Still figuring that out. Like, is this like some sort of a spiritual simulation? Is this a testing ground? Or a karmic thing? Like Cloud Atlas? Maybe we don't want to be here for 700 years like Methuselah. Maybe 80 to 100 years is, the saculum. That's what we should be happy with. Either way, for my great-grandkids or my 8th generation grandkids, whatever you'd call them, I'm going to document this current war for humanity against the transhumanist agenda and see where it goes. I'm not going to share food pictures, tell you too many details about my personal life because I'm a private person. But I'm excited about this new chapter in world history because just fighting for objective reality was like a waste of time. Not that we shouldn't have been fighting for that and speaking out against like everything that's been happening in the woke agenda. We should have. But there were many, many very charismatic, talented, well-researched people, much more passionate about those topics than I was, and much more excited to fight against all of that stuff. I want to choose my enemies wisely. Thank you, Patrick Bet-David. I think that's where I was going with the whole Patrick Bet-David thing, and then I got off on a tangent and forgot my train of thought. I liked his book, Choose Your Enemies Wisely. And so, to me, this new turning of the page, the masks off with Trump and Elon and all those guys, that they don't actually care about America, Americans, especially not the base that has so fervently supported them. It's great. It's great. Because now we can have the real conversation about the problems that plague this world and who's behind them and who benefits and how we can create parallel societies and ignore the system and starve it of attention and create our own lives, our own systems, our own world within this world to live productively, peacefully, and passionately. That's much more exciting to me. Take the fight to the core of the system and build a better world. That's a fight I'm willing to put myself out there and be involved in. So, Happy New Year. 2025. Can you believe that it was over almost a year ago? Not over a year ago, but almost a year ago. It's like the 8th or 9th of January when the aliens landed in Miami and then just didn't hear anything about them ever again. Go look up that incident if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about. It's crazy. And it just disappeared like it never happened. Bueno. Ya me voy. Feliz Año Nuevo. Happy New Year. I will be more concise.